Today we are going to be talking about the data layers in GTM. And by the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of what data layers are, how to set them up, and how to use them in GTM to gain valuable insights about your audience. So what exactly are data layers? In simple terms, a data layer is a JavaScript object that contains information about your website or application. This information can be anything from page URL and user interaction of product details and e-commerce transactions. Data layers allows you to send this information to Google Tag Manager so that you can use it for tracking and analysis. Now let's go over the step-by-step process of setting up data layers in GTM. First, determine the data points to collect and create a data layer object with properties for each. For instance, consider an e-commerce website that tracks purchases. Then the purchase data layer might look something like this. Additionally, we are using these JavaScripts to dynamically update values based on user interactions. Once you have defined your data layer, place it above the GTM container snippet in the additional script box within the checkout section of Shopify settings. Then in GTM, create data layer variables for each property you want to track. So navigate to Variables, New, and Data Layer Variable, and enter the respective property name. Like if you want to track transaction ID, then we can use this parameter name from here and enter it in the data layer field in GTM to track these IDs dynamically. The last step is to create tags and triggers in GTM to fire when a specific user interaction occurs. For example, you can create a purchase trigger based on a custom event and use data layer variables to capture these product information. Alright, let's take a look at an e-commerce example of a custom data layer and see how it works in practice. Let's say you have an online store that sells clothes and you want to track the transaction ID, the total value, as well as the product information when someone purchased a product. Then you would create a data layer with these properties. This data layer includes information about the transaction as well as the product that was purchased, including its name, ID, currency, price, and quantity. You would then set up tags in GTM to track this data and use it to analyze user behavior on your website. Like we created this purchase tag earlier that contains all the data layer variables, gathering information dynamically and then sending it to the analytics or other tools. If you want to learn how to set this up, watch our video on how to set up e-commerce purchase conversions with the link in the description. So now you have an understanding of what data layers are and how to set them up. Let's look at some of the best practices for using data layers in GTM. Use consistent naming conventions for your data layer properties to avoid confusion and ensure that your GTM tags are triggered correctly. This also makes it easier to manage and analyze the data you collect. Only include the data that is necessary for your tracking and analysis needs in your data layer. Adding too much data can slow down your website and make it harder to manage your GTM setup. Organize your data layers with a clear structure, such as grouping related properties together or using nested objects. This makes your data layer easier to read, understand, and maintain. Make sure to update your data layer values dynamically as users interact with your website or application. This ensures that the data being sent to GTM is always accurate and up to date. Before launching any changes to your website or application, test and validate your data layer implementation to ensure it is working correctly and collecting the data you need. Use GTM's preview mode and check your data layer values in the browser console to verify that everything is functioning as expected. In conclusion, data layers are a powerful tool in Google Tag Manager that can help you collect and track valuable information about your website or application. By understanding how data layers work and implementing them correctly, you can gain valuable insights into user behavior and optimize your online presence for better performance and results.